So Fáilte, welcome everyone to the Celtic Creatives and to Ban Illa today, because this is a collaborative conversation between me and the wonderful Kimberley Ann Murray, who is my guest and co-creator in our conversation today. So thank you so much for being here, Kimberley. Just delighted to have you with us. And I'm just going to share a little bit about Kimberley before we kick off, and then I'll let you maybe say a few words about yourself if you desire, Kimberley. So, Kimberley is the author of Ban Illa, which is an Irish word meaning female poet or seer. And her space is a woven cloth of reflections, rituals, herbal knowledge, and mythic storytelling. Kimberley has spent her life between worlds and now writes from the edges of land, of language, of time, exploring where memory meets magic. And Kimberley's writings range from botanical and herbal insights, channeled poetry and reflective prose, to explorations of consciousness, ritual alchemy, thresholds, mythology, and archetypal energetics. So we are in for an absolute treat today with Kimberley. So just thank you so much for being here, Astor.
No problem.
So as you arrive in this space, Kimberley, I would love just to, I know I often ask this question, but I just love it to get a sense of perhaps a mythic ancestor. So an ancestor, be that a goddess, a god, or some other more than human kin that feels really alive for you at the moment that you'd like to welcome into our space today.
About around this time a year ago, I had a dream of Talchu's funeral games, and I really connected with her for the first time. And for me, when kind of these deities come through, it's more that they come through for a moment, and I might channel a poem, but then they'll move on. I don't stay in one energy for too long. So I had this beautiful experience of her in my polytunnel. I was harvesting. It was around Lughnasa last year, and she feels I describe her as like a fierce tenderness, really strong but really soft at the same time. And I channeled a poem about her, and she moved on, and I was devastated because I wanted her to stay a bit longer. And this Lughnasa, just yesterday, I kind of felt her coming back in. I was digging up potatoes in the garden, and I was so excited to feel her come back. And I feel like every cycle, every time they return, it's deeper, and you get more wisdom or more understanding about their energies. So yes, at the moment, it's Talchu all the way. She's really here with me at the moment and with us. That mother, also the foster mother, in terms of teaching Lou and the Samaldonach, I feel that energy around August, going back to your crafts as the weather kind of starts to die down. I have my macrame and my crochet, and we all kind of get back into our crafting, which I love, that aspect about Lughnasa as well. So that's the one who's here.
Beautiful. I love that description of Tolchu as this, fierce tenderness. And just for anyone who maybe isn't familiar with Tolchu, Tolchu is really, she's the queen of the Firbolg, which are the supernatural peoples that inhabited Ireland before the Tuatha Danann, the tribe of the goddess Danu, of which Lugh is our shining one. And the Irish word for the month of August is Lughnasa, named after the god Lugh, but in honor of Talchu. And because Talchu basically, taught Lugh everything he needed to know about the harvest, about preparing the land for agriculture. And then yeah, she passed, into the beyond, and he created these funeral games in her memory. And yeah, I'm just curious, Kimberly, like, do you feel that? I think it's so interesting that, she's coming to you when you're literally have your hands in the soil. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? You're in your polytunnel, or you're, with the potatoes. And yeah, I just wonder, is there any kind of, yeah, how do you feel around that? And did you still feel like when you were with the potatoes, did you still feel the first tenderness this year, or what was it like for you?
Yeah, I feel um I've been I've worked very closely with the Dark Mothers for many years, and I've been in a deep sown of death and really unconditioning myself and recovering the parts of myself that were there as a child. And as a child, I would have spent a lot of time in nature alone, a lot of time lying in wheat fields, and I was kind of the nature child. So I feel so close to Tulchu in terms of
Mm.
the Earth Mother archetype, and that connection to nature as not being a separate thing, but being a part of us. And it's been really beautiful to be out in nature and feel her come through in this still fierce, like the Morrigan and the Cailleach, but in a way that is tender and softer. It feels like a breath or a sacred pause that is coming through after such a long time of the being in the mud and really doing the dark work, which I also adore, and I adore those energies too. But this is it feels like a coming home to myself as well
Mm.
after a really long time. I even had this message from Spirit at the start of the year to stop dyeing my hair. So it's quite black. And I don't know if you can see my lighter brown at the top, but for me, that's like autumn coming through after Samhain. I can feel the
Wow.
physical shift as well around softening back into my natural place. I was born at Lughnasa. I was born in August, and I'm a Virgo, which is quite the Earth Mother kind of healing energy is quite connected to the Virgo. And yeah, I feel in the right place for the first time in a long time, which is lovely.
Yeah, beautiful. That phrase, softening back into my natural place. Like, ding ding. I just love that. Softening. I feel like my body's melting, softening back into my natural place, because that just reminds me as well of just, yeah, like the connection to Talchu, to the Earth Mother, that we are, her children, that essentially, like, we are made of the same stuff.
Mhm.
So I love that, just softening back into my natural place. So yeah, thank you for that. Just really, really beautiful. And yeah, I'd love you to tell us a little bit about Ban Illa, your sublime publication on Substack, and that just beautiful body of work. And yeah, just like the inspiration, where it came from. Just, yeah, like I know it's evolving all the time as well. So just would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Uh, you're the inspiration, Jen. It came from the Aishdana course with you. I wrote poetry as a child. I would always channel through poetry. So whenever I would, it's really hard to explain how poems come to me. I always joke that I can't actually write poetry, but it's just I'm a channel, and sometimes it comes through, and it's the words are wonderful, and then they're gone again, and I can't force it. So it's quite an unfurling as opposed to a forcing, and it can leave quite. It's quite hard in terms of scheduling because I can't really
Mm.
plan the writing. It just comes when it comes. Also, I think I need to be energetically in the right space. But I wrote poetry as a child, and then I went to college. I studied music and poetry, and I did poetry as a master's, and it became an academic um, love of mine. But also, as the Virgo, I became a perfectionist about it, and I wanted to perfect form, and I wanted to be the next Yeats. I was really focused on this academic blueprint for what my poetry should be like. And my natural state of poetry is channeling and writing in free verse. And whatever way it comes out, it has its own rhythm, and that's how it's meant to stay. But I went through quite a period of feeling like that wasn't good enough. And then I disconnected. I went in, I don't know, I was in the corporate world, and we won't talk about that, but I kind of lost my way for a while. And then coming back to your course, in terms of your dawn and, focusing on your own gifts and what comes through, or the things you've been provided in order to communicate with others, whatever you channel. And the poetry started flowing. I think it was our first ever call. And we spoke about the kayak, and a poem came through in 5 minutes. So I feel like you unblocked my channel. And ever since then, it's just been this deep acceptance, unconditioning around, what's good and what isn't, and what's acceptable and what isn't, and more into the channeling and the place where it's undeniable because it comes from the heart space, or from realms beyond me, and it's a message that needs to be put across. So I don't need an ego about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I love that around, yeah, it's like just allowing it to come through that, that there's almost like in a really beautiful way a responsibility to share it, to live in like and that's the idea of the dawn, isn't it? That like, if so the old Irish idea of a soul's calling, a poetic endowment, a creative destiny, that we are gifted the dawn by the divine, and when we live into the dawn by allowing the poetry or whatever to come through us, we're actually giving back to the ancestors, and like as we know, Celtic mythology is really rooted in the idea of reciprocity between us and the divine. So yeah, just so beautiful how you shared that. And yeah, just deep bow, because I know what courage it takes, and your poetry is just meant to be in the world. Like I remember that cardiac moment, and I was like, "What? This is just phenomenal!" Like you're just so so gifted, because you're in your dawn. It's yeah, it's everything. It's so awe-inspiring. And I just wanted to ask you, like, because I was just thinking there, I know you love Yeats, you have a very close, affinity with Yeats. And I'm just thinking about, like, obviously he was an incredible poet of, form and all of that, things that I know nothing about, that you know loads about. But he also, like, was a channel in terms of his automatic writing and all the occult activities that he was up to as well, all the magical, um, yeah, just all of the magic. And so I just wondered, is there anything that really has inspired you, like around Yeats almost, like in the fact that he moved between worlds as well?
Yeah, I feel like the more that I come into my own dawn, the more that I understand his work. I was obsessed with him
Mm.
from childhood. He moved between London and Sligo, and I was born in London and moved here when I was 10. Um, and for me, the landscape of Ireland really saved me in a way. I feel like it gave me a second childhood. It gave me this incredible connection to the land that I was always meant to have, but I didn't have in the suburbs in England.
Mm.
Um, and I loved his description of the land, also Inish Free, when he talks about, I will arise and go now. Go into this simple, natural life was always, from childhood, was what I needed. I have, I went to this conference, breatharian conference a few years ago, and Jazz Maheen, she's a big breatharian, and she spoke about people having different feeds for their chi or their life force. And she was obviously arguing the fact that breath is the best feed because we always have it, we're always breathing. But she did speak of certain groups in the mountains in Japan or in different places that were fed by the chi of the mountain or the nature chi. And what they found is when they moved into cities, their life force depleted and they became ill or they couldn't withstand without being in nature. And although I know her argument was that it's a more delicate chi to feed from, it's definitely my chi. You have to be in nature. And I feel that Yeats had similar. I feel from his poetry and when you see when he's in London and when he's in Sligo and how it revitalizes him. But it's funny in the academic study of him, it would be, he creates these incredible worlds and he uses myth and everything else. And I'm like, he's just journeying. He's actually just in the
Yeah.
lower world. He didn't create that. I can see through journeying myself, with shamanic practice and stuff like that. I can see the whole world he's writing about now. I see it myself or live it myself. So I'm able to get in closer to his work. And I'm still trying to find a way to bring back the Golden Dawn. I'm always
Yeah.
looking up his you can find different snippets of information online or in bookstores. I'm trying to find exactly, some of the rituals and things that they practiced. I would love to, in my coven work, bring in some of that because that just fascinates me about him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that book, I think it's behind me here, is it? Yeah, History of Irish Magic. That one I
Mm.
feel is a great book, in terms of, providing an insight into Yeats and the likes of Aon, like A.E. Russell, who I personally am fascinated by as well, and Pamela Coleman Smith and all of the people who are involved in this movement, but it's really enlivening, or I don't know, like I feel like, like the sense in my body is kind of like just a relaxing, a cracking open when you're talking about like seeing someone like Yeats from like, because you could see Yeats and tie yourself up in knots, like, and just say, oh, this, like perfect poet or whatever. I know he wasn't a perfect human, but like, say if you work like none of us, but like say if you look at the poetry or whatever, and you're like, oh, like, this is the how did he perfect this form, and how did he do this, and how did he do that, and how did he create all of these worlds? And yet now you're kind of liberating yourself from that to say, well, actually, I can see how he was co-creating. It's a
Yeah.
co-creation. And obviously, he's an incredibly gifted poet, an incredibly gifted filler, I would say, like a poet seer, like you. But to see it from the place of co-creation is just very liberating, I find as well.
Yeah, and it opens up the world of poetry in the academic spaces. I don't know, I have this, especially with the eights, like how much is channeled and how much is created. It is such a blurred line. Seeing the worlds that he has written about, actually experiencing them myself now through journeying and meeting the archetypes that he discusses. It's an incredible crossover. It actually, I don't want to say easy, but it makes it feel quite easy to
Mm,
like writing about someone you just met or writing about a space you've just visited, as opposed to inventing it, which, yeah,
yeah,
really beautiful.
yeah,
And I do think
amazing.
he refined and refined and refined until he had the perfect sonnet. Like he really worked on, in terms of craft, on his language and his use of words and his use of rhythm. And that's something I battle with between form and natural. Like, is my rhythm something that I allow to come through and stay as is, or do I refine and refine? And in the refining, do I lose? Obviously, Yeats didn't, but it's something that he inspires me to try and to work on as I go through this process of putting out the words that come in.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that balance, between Imbas and Sus,
Mm.
that idea like of our ancestors that, you would have your Sus, your, where the Philly, the poet seers, where they're doing their 7 grades of learning over like a period of 20 years, right? When people would have lived very, very short lives. when they're, acquiring what they call scientific knowledge, different to what we would perceive today, but the lore of a particular place or a particular genealogy or whatever, and then marrying that with channeling from the other world, with the imbas, with the fire in the head, with going into the dream time, into the cultural dream time, into the other world, and bringing back whatever, was needed to be brought back. So yeah, it's kind of the marriage of both and the dance of both, really, isn't it? Because we do like need both, and craft is really important, as well, because it provides a framework for it to come through.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I feel like the craft is the vessel for the translation vessel from the unknown to the known, or the unseen to the
Mm.
seen. It's the way to pass on the message, which is really lovely.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah, the vessel, the holding. Beautiful, beautiful. And so tell us now, like we are in Lughnasa time in the harvest season, which kind of feels wild because already I can feel like, I don't know if you've noticed the last week or so, it's getting, I mean, now it's maybe quarter to 10 when it's getting dark, whereas like a couple of weeks ago it was like 11 or whatever. Um, and yeah, like just I'm kind of pushing her away at the moment, but the kayak, you can feel the call, that we are heading for Samhain. And so just curious to know, like, what creative season are you in? Do you feel creatively that you are in Lughnasa, that you are in a harvest, or do you feel like you're somewhere else, like maybe you're in Imbolc, with the kind of the first shoots of something new, or yeah, I'd just love to hear what creative season you feel like you're in at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm in the ripening. So I would call it
Mm.
Lughnasa, early Lughnasa, like just before the harvest. The harvest does not yet come, but I feel I started at Imbolc. I had this crazy experience, or it's like a 24-hour vision of Bridget for the first time. I felt her, but I felt pregnant for 24 hours, extremely heavily pregnant, ready to burst. And I went through it was almost like contractions and everything for 24 hours. And I really realized in that moment I was pregnant with my Dom. And although I had been shifting through these different conditions, I was trying to break through to the blocked the flow of just writing what came through. Um, I felt myself realize what I needed to do, and my mother is an incredible painter. She learned very late in life, in her 60s, that she was able to paint, and she's incredible. She's my best friend. So the two of us are going to do a collaboration where um, I write my poetry and my mom paints in response to it, or her own kind of feeling about the goddess or whoever we're talking about. And we're going to publish that in a collection. So it was really exciting. It all came through with the pregnancy yeah, at Imbolc. And then I went into quite a Samhain, which was out of place, obviously, over the summer. I've had a lot of illness this year, although I do feel that it is kind of chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue, but it is shedding, it's healing my nervous system after such a long period of being in spirit, which I absolutely adore. I did neglect the body, or neglect the container as a mere container. Whereas now I really feel that um, I don't know if you've seen that artwork. There's a guy online that does it, and when you look at it straight on, it looks like an animal, but when you turn to the side, it's all pieces of junk and stuff that he's put together. And I feel like that's like mind, body, and soul. That it is one unit that all interacts with each other. Um, and in order to house a strong soul, you need a healthy or strong container. So I went through that for the summer, and it wasn't great. And now for Lughnasa, I have come back into the right relation, I would say, with the seasons. And I can feel the ripening, and I can feel the softening, which is lovely after having such a harsh summer. So yeah, I think creatively I'm in I've been working on the book in the background and getting my poems together. They're strewn all over the place on bits of paper. I have to find them. Um, and also playing with form on a few and seeing, do I prefer the refined Yeatsian version or do I prefer the channeled raw version? And it's been really fun to play with. And my mom has been painting some ridiculously incredible paintings that I'm so excited to pair with the poetry and put out there. So yeah, in the ripening.
So beautiful. And just, as well in that tall you energy, that like great mother energy, like just connecting with your own mother through both of your dawn, through your art, and this co-creation is just so beautiful, like really, really moving. And I wonder, I'd love, in a moment if you would share some of this art and poetry with us. But before you do, you've given us some glimpses into your kind of creative process with, the playing with the form versus the kind of just complete free flow, the slips of paper, the collaboration with your mom, just I would love to kind of, if you've any kind of anything to share with us. I know it's a really hard question around creative process because it's never really one thing, is it?
Mm.
So yeah, just anything that you'd like to share about what that sometimes or looks like for you.
Yeah, I am, like I was saying earlier, it's hard for me if I was to just sit down and like I'm writing a poem right now. I'm pretty sure nothing would come. It doesn't work for me in that way, which is both magical but also frustrating if I'm trying to stick to a deadline or, like, for example, publish a book and I want to get it finished. So I really do rely on the channeling and on I think my own energetics as well as whatever energies come in through me. I definitely found, like I was talking about with illness or with a dream, nervous system, it's really important to um, have your body in a good state in order to channel. And I found that the cleaner I eat, for example, I know there's a lot out there around the mediumship where if you are trying to turn that off or you're too busy at the beginning with a lot of spirit coming through, if you eat processed foods, it will stop, it will close it down for you. And it's a way that people coming into that kind of cope sometimes. But it is eating obviously from the garden, the stuff that is whole foods, that is grown or caught, or things that are less processed, really clears the channel. I found another thing I found, if I'm really stuck and I can feel something, it's almost like I hear a line on the wind, or I get a word that comes through, or even a dream. I wake up a lot in the night where I have to scribble when I wake up of what's coming through, because if I go to sleep, I'll forget it. But if I can't process it, if it's not fully coming into form, if I go and sit, usually by the Boyne, which is at the bottom of my road, I'm very lucky. I have my little space there in a little forest at the side of the Boyne. And if I sit in nature, it always comes through. So they're kind of my go-to. If I'm trying to finish something and it's not taken form, I'll go and sit somewhere in nature. But also I accept the importance of not forcing it. So of
Yeah.
allowing it. And if I feel something coming through and I try to write it and it doesn't, I'll let it be and go away and kind of it'll come back when it's ready. So yeah,
Mm.
it's like trying to keep hold of a dream after you wake up.
Yeah.
So I find
Yeah.
it is can be challenging, but is also really beautiful when it connects and it comes through. It's such a celebration of that connection and honing that connection. So yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And there's also, such an element of trust here, of like, um, even like sometimes you're catching a glimpse, like I'm thinking about the dream world, and it might be just you don't remember the full narrative, but you get an image or a symbol. And if you just work with that image or symbol, it kind of expands out, then it offers, more like, but at its own space and timeline and agenda, So yeah, trust is just so important. And yeah, you shared that so eloquently as well. So
I have one
yeah.
poem. one poem came through once while I was driving, and I quickly tried to record it so that on a voice recording note so I could just write it down when I got home. But then whatever way the noise of the car and everything, it didn't, you couldn't hear my voice. And I've tried so many times to like hone in and hear because I completely forgot it by the time I got home. And I'll never, well, I won't say never, but I have not yet got that poem back, and it was years ago. So yeah, it's
I wonder if it will come back, you know?
Mm.
Like it's like, with particular dreams only make sense. Like it could be 5 years after you've had a dream and you're like, oh my God. Like because when you're dealing with the other world or psyche or soul or the unconscious, that's the Tír na Nog, right? It's the land of eternal youth in the sense of it's completely timeless. It's no interest in our human conceptions of time and, you know, our own agendas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder, you'll have to let us know if that comes back, you know.
Fingers crossed.
Um, yeah. So it would be beautiful if you wouldn't mind, yeah, just sharing some of your poetry or art with us today. That would be magic. Be so beautiful.
I have to start with Tall too because
Mm.
she is everywhere today for me or this season. So this is my mom's incredible painting of her in response to my poem.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and my
Just
mom, she actually
gorgeous.
said that when she painted her, she felt the energy of her own mother. And she felt it was a really spiritual experience as she was painting her. She really felt the mother energy all around her and really held in the process, which is really beautiful. So it was really connecting for her. But I absolutely love.
So beautiful. Like just the colors, and just, yeah, the sheaths and the crow there, that kind of seer ship
Mhm.
energy as well. And yeah, I feel like you might be that little crow,
Yeah,
it
it has
told
to be
you
there
there.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
Gorgeous, beautiful.
and then if I read you the Talchi poem, this is the one. So after the dream, last Lughnasa Eve, I didn't actually know during the dream what it was. It was
Mm,
Lou was in front of me. I was in, it was almost like a viewing high up place.
mm,
Hard to explain. And Lou was down in front of me, but it was just, I just saw blonde hair. And there were games going on. Really ain't like there was kind of like there was something to do with cattle. There was fighting, and I know it was quite brutal. Like someone in one of the fights, someone was killed, and they just kind of threw him out of the ring and or the arena and kind of carried on. And at the time, I didn't understand, but when I woke up, um, it was Lughnasa, and then somebody that I was with at the time mentioned a place. It's a place in Northern Ireland that was connected to Lou, and it just all kind of um,
mm.
lit up for me. I was like, oh, that was the. And then I went into it, and I sat down then and thought about Talchu, and this is the poem that came through. Shades of green turn to gold as my olfactory memory calls for cinnamon mixed with clove. I run my hands through the last oats and bask in mint crisp morning air, not yet biting, but nibbling skin, dancing on the precipice of cold. I rejoice in rally scattered skies, digging my toes into tired soil, with the first percussion leaves crunching underfoot, the tartness of your berries salivating at my mouth, the song of talchu in my ears. Foraging a harvest wilderness, without her we would not have. My heart swells in thanks. Berries, elder, rowan, and black, I take you home to the hearth fire pop and crack. Plush blankets and woolly socks, a warmth that lulls me to rest. I dream of your funeral games, with Lou's morning caught in my chest. I celebrate you, mother of grains.
Ooh, so sensual. I'm like, where's my woolly socks and the berries and the toes and the soil? Will you share the painting again? And what's your beautiful mom's name? Just so we can honor. Hmm?
Marion.
Marion. Yeah, so Beautiful. Just so that we can, yeah, maybe let your words percolate for a moment with Marion's painting. Yeah. Just sublime, Kimberly, as always. Like you just have, it's like when I listen to your poetry, like I have like a physical reaction. It's something, it's like it goes from the inside out. It's so hard to explain. It's not like it goes in. It's like it comes out.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you're bringing something out of me as
Mm.
opposed to putting something in me, which I've never ever thought about. So yeah, it's just absolutely like just such a gift. Thank you so much. And is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, I will share another painting of Mom's if I can reach it.
Oh yes.
Ooh, don't want to drop anything. This is my beloved place at the Boyne that I spoke about.
There you are.
I'm in there, yeah. Um, this is where I sit to write, and I don't know if you can see the sea there or the water there, but
We
it's
can, yeah, yeah, it's just gorgeous. So, yeah, Bowen, the white cow, the great mother there with you. And I know you've such a strong connection
Mhm.
to Bowen, to the River Boyne, and I mean, it's so like when I look at that image there and I think, well, Bowen liberated, the well of Shagat into like she became the river, right? Like activated the well of wisdom and sacrificed herself to become the river so that its life, its nourishment, its imbas can flow. And, that then Ban Illy, like poet seers like you, are then sitting on her banks and being inspired and moved and allowing her to move through you. It's just, I mean, it's a way that the mythology is living, mythology is not in the past, it lives within us. It's part of, like that question Jung asked, like, what myth am I living? Like it's alive, So yeah, sorry, it just like activate a lot of me, that beautiful painting.
um so I'll read the Bowen poem.
Oh, beautiful.
And then I have one that came through yesterday that's like the second experience of Tulchu. So it'll show you the progression.
Mm.
Uh, I'll show you that one. Now, where is it? Because I channel them and then forget them, I have to read them off a piece of paper. Okay, here we are. Seated on my throne of rock, I gaze across your water block. As hidden by fluorescent leaves, I melt into the forest. Ears deafened in your white noise, a poise thought cannot hold. You flow a river through my mind and cleanse from youth to old. A daze pierced only by the highest pitch of a baby bird's sound or occasional twitch at the snap of a branch from the force that you compound. Peaceful chaos is water and foam as summer rain falls lightly to your mouth, leaving ripples like kisses upon your silky skin. I taste you in the air and wish to dive in, knowing the riptide could swallow me whole. But if I survive, oh, the bliss my heart would know. I watch flies skate in your surface pools, bumper cars in solitude, as the silver glisten of rain on leaf calls me closer to shed my grief. The mossy roots of ancient trees crisscross my path like snakes to be, as the smell of earth beckons me to walk. Pinecone littered ivy sea, wetness trickles through my skin as greater drops begin, and ferns reach out to tickle my knees, leading me away. Your frequency fades to rustling leaves, with wisdom verse the blackbird speaks, an echo in silence of what was before, but softer, sweeter, I crave more.
Thank you so much. It's just again, the aliveness, of just feeling how alive she is, like you can it just and everything around her, you, the ferns, just the pathway, just so moving, and often when I walk, sometimes I go out to that place where the Battle of the Boyne, that and do that walk along a longboat and along the River Boyne. And I say to my sons, like, see that, that's alive, that's the goddess, flowing. It's not a river, it's the goddess, and just, yeah. So just thank you for that gift of reminding us of this living, breathing, divine life form that's like literally flowing through the land. Just so
So
beautiful.
interesting on that reading because you spoke about the Imbas and the way she kind of released it. Um, I can see the hints of me like wanting to dive in, wanting to know more, the craving for the knowledge, for the wisdom from
Mm,
her. I can see that thread now that you've brought something else alive for me through it. So that's
mm, love that. Yeah, amazing.
and then I will read this one. This came through last night, which I was delighted about because I had it for today. Um, this is it is the second experience of Tulsi, or
Hmm.
the deeper cycle. It's also the softening, as I was talking about earlier, from this deep Samhain of being unwell and almost bedridden and just frustrated and coming out of that into the softening into myself of like I am autumn has always been I fall in love with autumn every year and forget how beautiful it was until the following year. It really is my favorite season. I know when people you were saying about the sun kind of going down quicker. I'm really excited when the 21st of June comes. My dad mourns because he's a summer baby and he wants it to stay light. I'm celebrating because it means the light's going that way.
I'm
I like
with you on that
fire
one.
lit
Yeah, as
and the
you
dark
know.
of it. Yeah. So
Love it.
this is
And can I ask before,
Mhm.
so the first Talchu one then was last Lunasa
Yeah.
in response to the dream, and then this one is literally last night.
Yeah. This is in response to the potatoes when I
The
was in
potatoes,
picking the potatoes
amazing.
and she came
We
through
love the
again.
potatoes.
Yeah. Lughnasa, I return to your straw bed from my place in the underworld, watching my dark mother's fade as black is replaced with warm tones of brown, where I leave behind death and remember your softness. My fingers plough your moist soil, searching for the roots I must become, watching mugwort sway as the first hints of autumn breeze signal the harvest before the freeze, and I remember the child I was. Lying in your fields of golden wheat, filling my cheeks with sweetening blackberries in the mellow sunlight of liminal evenings, still warm but reaching for the night. Spying lone silhouettes against the last sun of female hares, looking up to skies busy with swallows or swifts, preparing their leave in a whoosh of wings. Seated on a bale of hay, I am your way of turning leaves, of spiderweb dew, of stewed apple chutneys and elderberry jams, of medicines brewed in honey, raising my head from the equations of alchemical wisdom to your scent of meadowsweet and damp moss, singing your songs of fate and chance, engaging my hands in your crafts of weaving and knots, their meditative rhythm finding what is lost. Lighting the first hearth where Lugh may dance, as the sheaths are tied and fields embossed. I was born to the hush of your new moon, a silver slither of crescent, 2 days past, ever between. In the heart of August fires, Samaldonach holds the grain and stone, the equal hand that reaps and sows, the child of Lughnasa and the Lughnasa soul.
Mm. And here's to you as the child of Lunasa, your birthday time, born under the light of Lu and Talchu. And yeah, I love that around the like almost going into the roots that you must become. It's just so, yeah, I really feel the energy of becoming in that poem. Like really feel
And the
the
realization
movement. Go
the
on.
progression, the progression from childhood when I was lying in the fields and just,
Mm.
subconsciously connected to now like the elderberry jams and the chutneys and these and the medicine through the herbalism that I do. Like I've realized it was so simple, but it came through so clear that I'm still that child in an
Yeah.
now ever more so kind of making the chutneys and the jams and the medicines and working. I've become the adult version of her and I've returned to her at the same time through Lughnasa. So yeah, it was
Uh,
it was such a realization of
yeah.
um, mm.
Yeah, coming home. Talk to Sawalia Hannah Fane. You're like home in yourself now, and just like that image, like of you, just in a golden field with your cheeks full of like, the blackberries or the bilberries or whatever. It's just, yeah.
It was actually behind the church and it was during mass. So I used to sneak off
Ah,
at mass time and
wise,
lie in the
wise.
field with me instead
I
and
love
sneak back
it.
in.
I love it. That's your church. The field is your church.
Yeah.
The land is your church. It's your teacher. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so, so much. I feel like this is actually a harvest feast.
Mm.
I feel like you've offered us with your just incredible, sublime poetry, your dawn. It's just so inspiring for others for me personally, and for I'm sure many who will witness this conversation, just to see someone who is just like shining in their dawn, like really and truly. And it's just such a unique and special gift that you have, and yeah, I feel like just feel so nourished. And now I'm just like, yeah, I feel like you just activated something in me where I'm like, okay, I am ready for Lughnasa and I am ready for that descent into Samhain as well. I'm ready,
And
I feel the richness of it.
it can be soft. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be soft. It doesn't have to be like, yeah, because often we feel with Samhain that we're getting the Kyliak's hammer over the back of the head. I'm pulled into it, but this is just a softening. I love this idea of just softening the natural place, as you said, softening into the natural place of Lughnasa that's going to allow us then to just become into Samhain. So yeah, so just thank you so, so much, Buíochas so Cree, for being here today. And yeah, I will, for everyone, who is listening or watching, I will, put everything, all of the links to Kimberley's work so that you can connect with Kimberley and yeah, just immerse yourself in more of this more of this magic. So yeah. So thank you to anyone, at any time that is tuned in to this space. And yeah, just again, deepest gratitude to you, Kimberly. So yeah, just
I just want to say a big thank you to you, Jen, because you started this journey for me, this coming home, and you're such an inspiration to so many people. And I'll get emotional if I talk for too long, but you really um, return people to their dawn, and you give this energy of safety in that work, that it's safe to go home and it'll be magical, and it always is. So yeah, I just think that you're an incredible presence in my life and in so many other people's lives. And thank you so much for everything you've done to get me here and continue to do for other people. You're really special.
I'm going to cry, and you're really special because you've done the work. It's you, but I really appreciate your kindness. And yeah, we'll finish this and just have a good cry together.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so, so much. And yeah, just slán everyone for now.